Hey everyone, Justin Holland here with the Mad Insurance Show. Thank you for joining us on our 20th episode today. So I'm pretty excited that we're 20 episodes deep into the show. Hopefully this is not your first time hearing us out either online on YouTube, youtube.com/Mad Insurance, or you can just Google us online and watch that, or you're listening to us here on KTSA on your Saturday evening drive. And I've got another guest with us today. I'm excited to jump into that. We're visiting here in the lobby and basically preparing for the show. And there's some breaking news, and there's always breaking news. It seems Friday morning before I record the show for the weekend. But I can't thank y'all enough for joining us. Remember, I've got two brokerages here that we focus on. Texas State Insurance Services is going to be individual health insurance, Medicare plans for seniors, as well as employee benefits, travel, dental, vision, all that other good stuff, right? The number to reach us that is 210-880-5316. Palmetto Life Group is going to focus more on life insurance, long-term care, Social Security analysis, and how that relates to your retirement, as well as auto, home, and commercial lines. We're very excited that we launched auto, home, and commercial finally. Just made sense to be a full-service brokerage unit. So you can reach us there at 877-357-5316, or also visit us online at palmettolifegroup.com. So we've knocked out some show identification, introduced myself. I want to kick things off and introduce our special guest today. I've known this gentleman for maybe, 18 years now, closing in. We met in a different industry than what I'm in today. Is building materials and remodeling and that finance part of that industry, and that's where I met Greg, and we've been friends ever since. And I asked Greg Brockhouse to join us on the show today because I wanted to talk about politics and health insurance. And one of the reasons why is I get all this mail on all these political mailers, and I don't see much about health insurance on there. But I wanted to get Greg's take. He's very in tune. He's going to give us some background here in a minute on what he's doing, and then we're going to just have a conversation on basically politics and health insurance, and we'll probably throw some other stuff in there as well. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today for the show.
No. Look, I'm happy to be here. And you're right, Justin. I think it's almost 18, 19 years.
Probably around there.
We met at an old school builder here in town that did a bunch of remodeling work. And so we connected, just kind of on shared interests in the work you were doing. You were a vendor, and we just kind of hit it off and moved on from there. Coincidentally, we were married on the same day as well.
Right.
I like to always tell people that.
Anniversary.
His 6, 7, 8. He was married June 7th of 2008, and so was I. So we always have that in common. And of course, your lovely wife Barbara and the family that you have and everything you've been working on. Super proud of you with what you've done with everything. I always tell people about you when your name comes up. Because you're in a retail sales business, you're out there pushing product, and you're the original salesperson, right? So you can, if anybody's listening and curious about how you make a determination on somebody you buy or purchase a product from, especially life or health insurance. Justin, I've been a client of Justin's on these items already myself, but this I'll tell you about Justin Holland. I do a lot of business in politics and business world and marketing and business development and everything. You want to find somebody that will care about you and your family. That's more than just trying to close a deal or put you on the bottom line so that he or she can make a commission. Justin's always been there for me. He's always worked hard for me and done everything he could to take care of my family. Half the time there was never a deal to be done at the end of it, and he still picked up the phone call the next time around. So if you're looking for any of these items with Palmetto or Texas State, by all means, Justin has my complete and full trust. I refer him to everybody I know, and I hope that you find, if you have those opportunities, at least pick up one of those numbers and give Justin a call. Because you should be shopping yourself no matter what in today's world. You got to find the best deal, especially with the dollar as tight as it is nowadays. But Justin, I value you and your friendship, and thank you for having me on to talk about something I love, not the health insurance. Right. I love the politics.
I know you love the politics. Yeah. Thank you for the kind words. And man, it's our pleasure. This is what we do. I'm playing the long game on this, as you can tell. And I think we're doing some good work. Hey, listen, just like anybody, we'll fall short every now and then, but it's how we pivot and make sure we take care of our clients, especially with the disruptions that we're seeing right now. Greg, I'd like to get some background on you. Just if you can give us, you've been an elected official here in San Antonio proper. You see what's affecting San Antonio over the years, the surrounding areas, the demographic that we have here. I'm not born from here. I think you're born and raised in San Antonio, correct?
Actually, I was born in Peoria, Illinois
Were you
in the
really? Okay.
summer. My parents were there. My parents I've been in San Antonio. I Aside from the time I was in the service and gone for about 6 or 7 years, the other 45 years have been entirely here in San Antonio.
Okay.
So I was born up there, but got back as fast as I can because my family was up there. My dad is a native Illinoisan, and then my mother is from the south side of San Antonio.
Okay,
So he was
cool.
in the service when they met. He was in training at Lackland. So I should have been born here. I tell people, so I have to be very careful in my political world to say I'm not born and
I hear you.
raised, but I was born somewhere else, but got here as fast as I could.
You've been here long enough.
From about 1 month on, I was here. So I was always destined to be a Texan, but it just so happened they were up in Illinois when I decided to make my grand appearance all
I've
those years
lived
ago.
on the east and west coast of the United States. I'm originally from deep South Texas, a McAllen border town, Rio Grande Valley. San Antonio's been great. I planted my flag here probably, I think 2005, 2006 is when I got here. So I've seen a lot happen here, not as much as you have, but at the same time, love the city, care about the people. That's a whole nother discussion on where we stand there. But give us some background on Greg Brockhouse, what you're doing what you've done in the past, what you're doing now, and what does the future look like on what you're trying to do to help out the city and the local
Yeah, no, no, no. So yeah, I mean, like I said, 45, 46 years here until the service sent me away for a while. I was in the United States Air Force. I used to work on ICBMs,
Oh wow.
nuclear missiles. Yeah, I did that for several years in the military. But once I got out of the service, I made a decision to stay here in San Antonio. And really spent my entire life between Valley High, well, actually from down around Harlandale, so Mission Road, where my family grew up. Then we moved up. My family moved up around Valley High, so between Marbach and Highway 90, all the way up to
Okay.
I-10, just outside Loop 410. That's kind of been my world. I'm almost like 151 is where my entire life was.
Got it.
So, look, I've done a bunch of different things. I've been in the mortgage business. I ran grocery stores for a little while too. Worked with HEB in their retail management program,
Very
and got involved after I got out of the service, running grocery departments and stuff like that. My father was a lifelong career grocer. So I got into that, wasn't my cup of tea. Then I got into, frankly, sales, working on single family residential home mortgages. So I started
okay.
leading organizations in that. I moved up through the ranks on here at World Savings in Wachovia, which eventually became Wells Fargo Home Lending. But led sales organizations and really found my piece of the world in selling and helping people put themselves in home mortgage loans that made sense. So I love the single family residential
Yeah.
mortgage space. So the real estate space period was always fun for me because I could put somebody in a home. I enjoyed it. But through all that, I always was in love with politics. I can't remember a time when I didn't want to be involved as either a politician or working campaigns or that kind of thing. I always had a goal to be elected, but I knew it would take time. So when the mortgage market crashed in 2008, 2009,
Yeah.
I took the opportunity after I got laid off, and I laid off a lot of people. Like, it was a really sad time. But a lot of us got big bonus checks for doing it. So none of us were really super sad. We were kind of like really begging for the money
Isn't that
to
crazy?
move on. And when we did, I took the time and took the cash, about 2 years worth of pay, and volunteered at my church, the
Okay.
Basilica of the National Shrine of the Little Flower,
Okay.
here off of Calabria Road in San Antonio. So I started doing community outreach there, working with the priests, working, you name it, just neighborhood issues, community issues on the west side of San Antonio, where I met Mary Alice Cisneros' chief of staff, and he asked me to join the team, and that started my career at City Hall. I had the money, so I didn't really care about working, a paycheck at that point. So I did a lot of work volunteer,
Yeah.
but I got on the staff because I knew one day I wanted to run for city council. Here's the thing about me. I don't really, I mean, I love national and statewide politics, but the thing that drives me the most is local stuff. So city council, school boards, these types of things, knocking doors and talking to people in the neighborhood. That's what I love. So I always wanted to get on the San Antonio City Council, made a point of it to kind of build that career. So I was working on political campaigns. I mean, I started at the bottom from sitting at poll sites, getting paid $10 an hour as a professional. I was like, I got to do this. So I decided I wanted to go to the bottom and work my way up and figure out what it was really like. So that's what I did. And I was working at City Hall as a staffer. I mean, I could have been making 5 times that out on the street, but
Yeah.
I knew my dream was somewhere else. Got involved in that and ended up, I knew in 2013, I said to myself, I need to run for office.
Yeah.
So I made a run at the District 6 seat with like literally $10,000. Like, I had no money. I mean, it was, I was making no money because I was in this public service life. and I ended up getting to about 40%. What kind of stunned the community because I ran against the 3-term
You weren't
incumbent.
just a little blip on the
I was a
radar.
blip on the radar who ended up getting a lot of press and causing a lot of problems, and it was really fun. So I knew then I wasn't going to win. I mean, politics and campaigns are really a statistical analysis. Like
Yeah.
you can reason your way into. It's very rare that it doesn't follow the data set. So I knew I wasn't going to win, but I knew I could get close, be competitive, and come back when the gentleman termed out. It's exactly what I did. Came back and won the seat in 2017 in a runoff, and just fulfilled a lifelong dream to become elected. Over that, though, I really kind of got to City Hall and did things my own way. And I felt like after being down there for 2 years, I said to myself, "This is no, I do not want to do this job for 8 years." Like
Yeah.
politics has become such a cesspool of crap and garbage over the last 10 years that it's hard to want to do a job you love when it destroys everything around you. So, and nobody's trustworthy. It's very difficult. And this is the minor leagues of politics, like city council's minor leagues.
Yeah.
I'm not talking state and national. This is minor stuff. But we it was very tough. So in 2019, I said I was going to run for mayor. I said, screw this. I don't want to be down here anymore.
Yeah.
I was losing every vote, which I'm fine with. But there's just not a lot to be done at San Antonio City Hall. So I said, I'm going to run for mayor because if I change it all, or I go home.
Got it.
And I got into a tough political
I
campaign.
remember.
It was on par with one of the worst campaigns ever in the history of the city because of just the vitriol and where the country was going, how people were acting, how Democrats and Republicans were fighting. Kind of the precipice of where we are today started
Yeah.
back then. And I went on to lose in the closest election in the history of the
No,
city of
it's very
San Antonio.
close.
So it was a life lesson. So got out of that and still doing political work. My days of elected office, I don't think are over. Politics is more timing than anything.
Yeah.
Now I help friends and people I care about get elected. I still do business marketing, and I'm out doing. I'm the guy that my next job is my best job, so I just keep hustling. I do as many different things as I can, everything from zoning help to neighborhood outreach to marketing, podcasting. I do whatever I can to pay the bills. It's probably not always been the greatest thing at my age, but
Yeah.
I like to live on the edge like that, and I prefer to be out in the street in the community and not behind a desk. So that's been my life. I do it now, working on campaigns, and of course, doing all I can to help people still in the residential real estate market, development, marketing, you name it. So a
Very
little bit of
cool.
everything.
No, you're definitely all over with that. I do want to make sure we bring up the broadcast. I've really enjoyed that. I mean, you take an unfiltered, unbiased approach. Do you have people that you want to tilt towards? Absolutely, but at the same time, you're not afraid, like some of the people that I follow on both sides of politics, to call each other out on that as well.
Yeah, so I started the podcast after the 2019 campaign because I knew nobody was really saying what needed to be said. And I did it for a couple of years, 2, 3 years. And man, we had a great time with it. And we took a break just because it was, family and life and the challenges of everything. And I took some time off with it. But we're bringing it back. And what I try to do with the podcast, and you're right, people don't, and even then, if you're podcasting, you're doing a show, or Nico LaHood has a show,
Yeah.
Eddie Alderete has a show. I mean, people have podcasts, right? And you cannot do a podcast or a conversation and not have your personal bias come into it. Like if that's your buddy, you're not necessarily going to call them out to the max.
Yep.
But I mean, so everybody brings a bias to these types of things, and you got to take a step back and realize that they're pushing their own personal agenda. I don't hide it. I run a podcast that's unapologetically going to say exactly what I think. And if I like my friend, I'm not going to trash my friend. I'll call issues out that I think my friend could have done better on, and if they're on the other side too, like say, I'm a Republican, but on the Democrat side, I have tons of Democrat friends, and I give credit where credit is due over there. And sometimes my Republican friends hate that, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I try to do it, which is to equal opportunity offender. And I'm going to say what I think, and that's what the podcast we're hoping to create and bring back. Because really, there is no better time to have a political podcast than right now.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
everything's news, everybody's doing something crazy, but you got to say what you really think. And that's the unvarnished part of like what you're doing with Texas State Health and Palmetto, and what I'm trying to do. My business world is just, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm after. I'm here for you. We've lost that piece of, I think, public dialogue where we actually not care about the other person. It's hard to care about somebody you don't know,
Yeah.
but at least care about doing the right thing to obtain what it is important for you. I try not to screw anybody over or do anything like that, but but it's tough sometimes because people, boy, they want to go to war immediately.
Yeah.
So I do the podcast and I kind of do the same thing in my personal business, which is just to, hey man, this is what I think. Take it or leave it. This is what I am.
No,
So
I love the podcast that you're doing there, and it's a breath of fresh air. I try to, like I said, I look at both sides of it. I'll watch Bill Maher here, and then I'll watch a little bit of the mainstream media on both sides, and I'm just trying. And then you try to assess it.
yeah,
But then
exactly.
we're living in a day and age with AI and everything else that goes on. It's absolutely crazy. Before we kick off on some of the talking points I wanted to talk about, you walked in and gave me some breaking news here a minute ago. I mean, literally, that was happening this morning, and we're recording this on February 20th on a Friday for the weekend show. In the tariffs were struck down as far as the Trump
Mhm.
administration with the Supreme Court. And you're like, well, Justin, why would you even bring that up? How's that going to affect health insurance? Well, it's going to affect the economy, which affects, what benefits people have, what they have in place through their employer. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics there. Um, I see a lot of disruption, a lot of chaos. And one of the reasons why I wanted Greg on the show today is because it just seems like healthcare, health insurance just is not top of mind right now for our politicians. I mean, I brought a stack of all these stuff that I get daily, and I think there was one that said that brought in support free enterprise solutions for healthcare. That's great, but it was just one little trickle where we've got people really struggling with their health care to try to stay alive, and that can be
Mhm.
crippling. And I'm sure you've got friends that have been affected by that. But the tariffs, just let's get Greg's take on the tariff news this morning. I'm
I
curious.
mean, President Trump, you got to be very careful in the world of saying you're a Trump supporter. Seems like in San Antonio, you're liable to get your tires slashed. But look, I'm a supporter of the president and his agenda. I always have been. I think the tariffs were actually an excellent move. There has been a trade imbalance across this globe for decades, and we fed the trade imbalance in some effort to build to build American power or exert American power overseas. We did it through U.S. aid. We do it through tariff reductions. We do it through these imbalances in trade. So they're giving us more, we're giving them less. Whatever it is, with any particular country, the trade imbalances created on the appearance of American power and might. Right, like we're taking care of particular countries. We're allowing some certain countries to make more money off of us, and we're making off of them, and all this other crap. So here comes the president who, for years, this is something that Donald Trump's been talking about for 25, 30 years,
Yeah,
which is the trade imbalance and tariffs. He came in and unilaterally opposed them. I think it was called Trump's Tariff Liberation Day. I think that's what he called it. He had a
that's
big old
right.
sign, and it
I
was all this.
remember.
Well, it was immediately going to be challenged because it's not a clear constitutional authority that the president can levy these types of tariffs. So for months, it's been kicking around in the courts. And of course, today, about an hour ago, 6-3, the Supreme Court ruled with Justice Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, and I believe Neil Gorsuch, siding with the Democrats 6-3, that the majority opinion that they struck down the tariffs. So there's now this gray area because we collected about 135 to 140 billion dollars of tariff dollars, and now something has to happen with this money because Trump could not have exercised this power. Like presidents come out and said he's going to do what he can to, he's got a backup plan. That dude's got a
Yeah,
backup plan for backup
right,
plans.
right.
So who knows what's going to happen because he's also parking aircraft carriers off Iran. I mean, he's taking out leaders in Venezuela. So we've got a lot going on in global power. But this is what you got to read. The tariffs were a tool of American might and an America First policy. Now we have to see how it gets recalibrated. And in that America First policy, initially, sometimes you have to be thoughtful that it may raise costs initially. There could be problems. So if we're slapping tariffs and you're a solar installer or you're building something in their community and you're importing product from Mexico or Canada, steel, whatever you're bringing in, those costs are going to be gradually higher, if not drastically higher,
Yeah,
due to the cost of these tariffs. So we probably will see a reduction in a lot of costs across the board. But it's more than just that. Over time, the president has been successful to have other countries reduce their trade imbalance.
yeah.
So there are successes we're going to lose as a result of that. And I think that's sad because these countries will revert right back to an imbalanced trade portfolio with us where they're making more money off of us and we're making off of them. And that's dead wrong. So I think we'll see some initial positives from it. But in the long run, um, costs will stabilize. These types of things are important. But, Trump's got 3 more years. So we're going to see what this looks like and how he's going to formulate a backup plan. But, The markets haven't reacted overzealously
Yeah,
yet. They're kind
they
of everything's
nope.
calm right now, but again, these kind of things happen in crazy cycles, and we could, like I said, he threatened Iran in 10 days from now. We were going to go in there and level the place. So you just don't know what's going to happen or what's going to move the dialogue. And
With all that chaos and noise that we got out there, that's why I like the show, the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. We're really trying to resonate and focus on those topics, and how they relate to politics and how they relate to the global economy. And believe it or not, everything is intertwined off of that. But just a reminder, you're listening to us here on the Mad Insurance Show, making a difference in insurance. I'm your host, Justin Holland, with Texas State Insurance Services and Palmetto Life Group. Got a special and very fun guest, Greg Brockhouse, where we're basically talking about politics and health insurance and healthcare, and that's what we're going to dive into right now on our visit. I want to segue into, you know, as a public employee that you had, and then going back to a private citizen, you were an employee years ago as well. How have you seen health insurance affect you personally? Because something I'm going to probably do, I'm going to probably have some of my guests that we've had group benefits for years that hire employees, and give their take on this. I'm curious your take on the state of healthcare, on how it's affect maybe you, family members, a loved one or friend. Can you give me some insight on how you've seen that dynamic and you see where I'm concerned about?
well, the politician side of me, I do have about a bit of a social justice streak to me. I like to think that I'm not just completely beholden to any particular ideology, right? So, like, if I'm a Republican, hey man, Trump, MAGA, go 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 go, whatever he says. I don't work like that. I like to think that people who are elected do have a heart. And part of this is because I'm a Catholic, I think too. Part that you do have a heart for the poor, right? And you got to think about the people who have to stretch a dollar to the end of the week and simply can't, right? And over time, in doing the work I do, and you're a hustler too, you've been building your stuff from the ground up. There's weeks when sometimes you don't know what bill's going to get paid or what's not,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And I live that every other year. I mean, it's like a marriage, right? There's good years and bad years, and
absolutely.
so it's the same thing with the business as a business owner, especially if you're in business for yourself and you're your own company. There's going to be times when you can't figure certain things out, but some bills always you have to figure out how they're paid or they're made, right? And things fluctuate and change. I mean, you got a car payment, you've got a house or some sort of rent, right? An apartment, your utility bills, CPS Energy and SAWS,
That's
and
just the core stuff.
that's
That's
the
not
core
even
stuff.
the
And
subscriptions that
health,
people
yeah,
have.
and health insurance clearly is one of those. But of all of those, the one that is probably the most unfair, right? It's not your mortgage. I mean, there's things that go into that, including your credit score and a bunch of other stuff, and your utility bills, how long you run your water, how long you're keeping your lights on, your electricity, stuff like that. The health insurance one, so much is out of our control as people,
Yep.
and those costs are destructive, right? And you're right. There's not a lot of talk. There was a lot of talk of it when we wanted to extend the ACA credits in
Yeah,
November.
this
Oh,
fall
it
that
was
was on
everybody's business.
everybody.
Now nobody cares. But the truth is this: that we somewhere along the line, and it would be, so I would probably go back. I'm probably going to go ask Grok or ChatGPT when this employer paid healthcare system that we've embedded in our country's culture became such a monolithic. It's a pariah on just about everybody. Nobody trusts it. Nobody believes it. You can't call in, it seems like, and get the support or help you need. And that's just for the people who regularly pay or get an employer coverage.
Yeah.
Imagine now you have to go out and find. And look, I'll say this: I am a fan of the ACA. I don't see a problem with the health exchange because it works for people. It's worked for me in my toughest times. I got insurance through the ACA, and I still would do it. I still do it. So I don't think there's any, people, Republicans always upset me about the party that I'm a part of, is that they wanted to kill and get rid of the health exchange or Obamacare simply because it was Barack Obama that did it.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of problems with the health exchange that need to be fixed,
No question.
but 26 or 30 million people with no insurance just seems unacceptable to me.
Yeah.
So I don't care if I'm a conservative or fiscal this or fiscal that. People in our country should be able to get health insurance, and some of them can't afford it. Now we have Medicaid, we have CHIP and other programs to help
Right.
people. But no, no. So this to me is the social issue. I don't run around trying to give free bus fares and free books and free school and all this other
That's
stuff.
on
I
the
get
radar
it.
today.
I get it. But I do think health insurance is a topic that most politicians want to skirt around because of the sheer cost of it. Then you add in, big pharma and the other people that are driving these costs so high. And you're right. Look, the ACA and the sure, we're feeding a lot of the cash, and the president and his team are right. We're feeding a lot of cash to the health insurance companies. They're making bazillions of dollars
Yeah.
right now. So we do have to fix it. And I think we should have extended those healthcare subsidies. And I do believe we need to protect people. So, I see it as they're intertwined. People don't talk about it because it's one of those ones that's next to impossible to fix.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're not creating anything new. You're working around the edges to make it more affordable for people. And I tell politicians or people I work with in political world this all the time. You don't have to agree with the policy. You don't have to like it. But just think about the family that can't get their kid to let's say their son's a diabetic, their young child's a diabetic, and they can't get them to get the insulin strips, or they can't afford the shot, right? Or they can't afford to go get checked out because they have the flu. And or grandma that can't do it without the Medicare, the check hitting the mailbox, or the medicine's getting sent from the
Social
VA.
Security, no,
So you got to think about, just because you have it, your life is that much better for it. I always try to think of those who don't, as a politician or an elected official, those who can't get it. And I'm sorry, nobody's running around wanting to not have insurance. This is ridiculous. And people who say pull yourself up by your bootstraps, it doesn't work that way.
Greg,
so that's why Texas State,
we're living longer lives, not necessarily healthier lives, and that's
Right.
where the health insurance and the maintenance on that comes in. But also, there's a lot of people that just didn't get a fair shake. They got that cancer diagnosis. Their child got sick. And I'm like,
that's
maybe
life,
we
man.
bring back a risk pool where I have no problem having, a tax on me if it goes into a coffer that helps out with those situations. You know what I mean? To help
I
kids
think
that
most
get-
people. I think most people are like
I
that.
think so.
Now we don't want to give you free bus fare. I mean, there's
Yeah.
some things, or free groceries. I mean, some of this stuff's getting out of control.
Correct.
It absolutely is. The government's purpose is not to run your life and pay your life for you. That is not the government's purpose. But the government's purpose does have some level of making it reasonably obtainable.
When you get knocked down, we're going to help you, brush you off, and get you
That's
going.
what makes America better than any other country in the history of the world, right? But I think we've got so politicized that it affects the health insurance game now, right? So we're running a time there when nobody extended these subsidies. And then now we're living with people who are triple, quadruple the rates. Yes, the program needed to be fixed. Doesn't need to be fixed on the backs of the people who are suffering right now, though. We're wasting, I don't know, it's the same thing at City Hall, right? We're wasting billions in the federal government doing ridiculous things. And at City Hall, we're wasting money on ridiculous projects that make no sense. We're funding things that don't meet the common basic good of the community.
Yeah.
Public safety, safe streets. I can wake up at night and if I want to walk out my front yard and pick up my paper in the morning or whatever I'm doing, I'm not going to get attacked. I can go to the grocery store and feel safe. I can afford a cup of coffee. I mean, these are things that basic American lives and ideals, right? And I think sometimes we start wasting cash on, I don't know, that bus. I always make fun of that $30 million.
I chimed in on it over the weekend.
Yeah.
I drive by it every day.
On 281 and 1604 out that way is that via stop and ride out there, whatever, the park and ride, and it's a $30 million useless facility.
I will tell you,
what could we have done with $30 million bucks?
I got a pretty cool camera set up that I use to get full moon footage on. And I will drive over to that facility.
You go to the top.
You go to the top, and I'll use it to get my good camera angle every now and
It's so
then.
bad. It's so bad.
Hey, I'm using it, Greg.
You're using it. We'll start charging you. We're charging you by the hour. Recoup our money over 2,000 years. But no, yeah. I mean, look, I think the health insurance is if there's a topic that we need to solve, politicians need to. It's around health insurance, and it's personally affected me. So I'm
selfish on it. Hey, I'm in the industry, but I'm also in the trenches. You've seen me firsthand where I help you and other clients. We figure out the problem that we've got, whether it's network or cost or particular medications that need to be covered. It's just exhausting. I know we've got some smart people that can try to figure this out. The insurance companies, listen, they are making money, okay? However, Aetna CVS pulled out of the ACA market because they were losing money. So you've got carriers that might not be in the best position, not sure, maybe it could be how they're running the company. Humana, I mentioned this on last week's show, exited the group benefits market to focus on Medicare, and government and municipality plans. Molina Health last week said, "Hey, we're out of Medicare Advantage. We're done," because of the news of CMS saying, "Oh, I know you were expecting 6 to 7% increase in Medicare reimbursement. It's going to be 98, or something like that." So it's going to be interesting on how that tightens up on the benefits. Um, I don't know. I mean,
Well, it's not, the answer's not a Norwegian universal healthcare system or a Swedish or a Canadian single payer system. I don't think
if
that's
it
the answer,
is,
but
then at least show us the options. Why can we not
yeah,
look at them side by side?
to unravel what we've built is next to impossible. So to get away, I
It's
think we
like
just have to.
rearranging the deck chairs on the
Yeah,
Titanic.
yeah, it makes no sense, man. So I think we got to get it right, and the political aspect of all this affects everything because it gets held hostage, right? Because it becomes a talking point, like the extending the credits, and it all comes down to choices, right? There's a finite amount of taxation. Although what we do as a country is we go out and take down $30 trillion of additional debt, and we owe China more money than we owe each other, right? As Americans, so
Yeah,
we've got a lot of problems, but there's a finite amount of taxable resources here. So, and it becomes the dumb part to me is when I see Republicans wanting to cut these benefits, wanting to put the money in things that are, let's just say the federal defense budget, right? Which we already are. I think you can combine like 200 of the countries in the world doesn't even get close to where we spend on
yeah,
it. But there's reasons why we have a defense budget like that. But this all comes down to choices. And there, with only being so much money, what we're seeing now is the Democrat, socialist, progressive wing trying to take all that back and giving it back to the people. So you're either on two pockets when it comes to politics, and the same thing with healthcare. You are either of the, and it helps define who you are. Do you believe that the government role is to fill the gap and give you the money, or is the government's role to build the environment so that you can go out and work the money and work your skill set to go get it?
yeah,
And that's where we're at right now. I mean, both parties are like, "Hey, we're going to take that away. You need to go figure that out on your own. I'll give you 500 bucks over here, but good luck to you.
yeah.
We'll give you a health savings account, right? The president wanted to give $2,000 in a health
Correct.
savings account. That's not going to
It's not going to
it's
fix
not
it.
going to fix people's health insurance problems. So we're falling into these camps where it's just one or the other. But look, I think that's going to change. I mean, Donald Trump's going to be in office for 3 more years, allegedly. So, I mean, he says he jokes about running for another one. And then we'll be in this a new wave of leaders will come in starting in 28 and 32 that are 20 years younger and they have a different mindset about these things. The people who are younger, us 20 years ago,
Yeah.
the people who are in charge of our country 25 years ago, were looking at us thinking, "Oh hell, here it comes." Like this is
No, you're right.
yeah, and now we're looking at the youngsters saying they want to give everything away. This is insane. That may very well be where we are as a nation and country, but it needs to be fixed in the health insurance part. And you're right, it's a personal thing for me. I've used the service. I've used Justin and to help save my family multiple times. I
Yeah.
mean, there have been times when I didn't know which bill I was going to pay, and I have to stretch it out and figure it out and get it done. And something doesn't get paid, and I get it back next month. That's just the way of life for most Americans. And I didn't always have to live like that, right? There's never been a time where I felt I needed to go to the government for health insurance. I never. I mean, my career was more than taking care of myself. But when I got into public service, it's not a big money making venture. At
Yeah.
least I didn't turn it into a money making adventure. And so you start to struggle. And I think the struggle teaches people lessons, which the humility of struggle is we got to help people get health coverage, especially our children and seniors. I don't think you can
And
get
and
around
it, and
that.
it's not just lower income. You've got individuals. I mean, that decision to not extend those tax credits to the middle class.
Oh,
I mean,
it's not poor people. No,
yeah, it
that's a great point.
absolutely crushed them. I'll give you an example. I think that, and I brought this up on prior shows, Greg. I don't know if I think I brought it up to you. I think the worst one I had, and I had to remind a client this morning, is like, so if we don't qualify for this credit, we've got to pay $2,500, combined insurance per month for both of us. Like, yeah, that little strikeout is the cost of your insurance before the credit. And they're like, well, how do we manage our income, off of that? And it was like, well, you're going to have to really keep an eye on it because you're going to owe money back to the worst person you want to owe money to, and that's our good friends at the IRS. But where I'm going with this is probably the worst scenario I saw was a family of three expected to pay, let's just call it $4,000 a month just in premium. We're not even, that's $48,000 a year,
That's
you
just the
know,
base pay.
just that is somebody's income, and just to cover the premium for the coverage, God forbid something happens, and they have to keep it because there was a spouse with a cancer diagnosis that's reared up off and on, so they don't have any other choice. They're not employed by a company that offers group coverage, but, that doesn't even include the maximum out of pocket of 10,000 that they would have to hit, God forbid something comes up. This is the year where this past enrollment season that I had, Greg, where I'm like, "Man, this is broken." We got it. We need some
Mhm.
answers. And I was really hoping that our legislatures would say, "Hey, we don't agree with this, but we do comprehend and understand how significant this is going to hurt that middle class." And there was millions, that were affected. I just think that's going to rear its head, political time, voting
Yeah,
time.
and I think, they historically overplay their hands in politics.
Hmm.
So the party gets in power, they get emboldened,
Oh,
and
you
they
had Doge and everything
proceed
else.
to do everything they possibly can to push it to the because they think they have some overwhelming mandate. Nobody wins with an overwhelming mandate anymore. So what you get is you get a government shutdown because the Democrats want to extend the ACA subsidies and they hold out and they think we're going to win this. And they may be right on the issue, maybe so, but the Republicans had the power, held out, and the Democrats caved, and no subsidies were extended, and millions were hurt. And these decisions, I think, really look, both sides are guilty because the Democrats will go so far on the other side to bankrupt us and raise our taxation. They'll cost us money on the other side. And
Hmm.
Republicans over here will take the money from you on the ACA subsidy and they'll lose the vote there. So the voter is voting almost entirely on their economic situation.
Got
They're
it.
voting on their
It's a
kitchen
good
table.
point.
That's what they vote. We can do all this other stuff. We can bomb Iran. We can go pull Nicolas Maduro in his underwear out of his bedroom. We can do all that stuff. Sure. At the end of the day, they're voting on, is my life any better
What's
under
their
this
bank
person?
account look like?
Is this my life any better under this person or not? Like how much have I struggled this past? You know what? This is how bad it's been. Republicans have, I will say this, and I've said this in many rooms, they've overplayed their hand.
Yeah, I
They
think they
overplayed it on
they overplayed
healthcare.
it.
They hurt people. It's okay to change and be an agent of change in politics or in business.
Yeah,
But when that change, and people say, "Man, to fix this, we got to blow the whole thing up." Well, maybe so, but you don't go in and nuke it on day one. These with the way we are, we have to gradually move change. Some things deserve immediate change, absolutely.
yes.
But what we've done here is hurt people, and I think that's what's costing. I really think Republicans are going to get drilled in November. This thing is going to swing wildly to the left, and we'll have a Democrat speaker. We're going to be awful close to losing the House, and we're just going to get drilled. Immigration's involved in that
Yeah,
because I mean, people are out there saying, "Well, there's illegal immigrants coming in, illegal aliens, and getting free health care." Well, hold on a second here. Like, what's the real truth?
yeah.
So the health care is in the immigration debate. The health care is in the tariff debate. The health care it's everywhere. So health care.
I have many immigrants and clients that might not had the papers, so to speak, and they had to pay full price
Yes,
for
they're
their health,
paying full
and
price.
nobody's talking about
Nobody's
that.
talking about that. That's actually true. I heard that somewhere else the other day from somebody who was mad because I said that the people were getting free services and stuff like that. They are, but then the Republicans come in and overplay the hand, and then the Democrats are trying to go the other way, so nobody gets anything done.
Yeah,
And then we have the subsidies aren't extended. So look, I would just wrap that part of it up. I think politically, it's a very difficult subject to want to address.
yeah,
And it's the same thing with talking about tough subjects like abortion and other things that are body driven, my life, my control, my family, my money, my house. And the government starts to intervene in that. And it's a problem. But I think we have some covenants as leaders, elected or in whatever. We have some covenants we have to keep with our citizens.
yeah,
And that's that we're going to protect and defend you. You'll have a safe neighborhood and community. You can get groceries. We got to keep prices low. You can, I think, make as much money as you possibly can. I have no problem with billionaires or anything like that at all, but you should be able to keep as much money. So lower taxation and healthcare. Um, People dying on the streets is not American. And whether it's veterans, homeless veterans, that kind of thing, I think we've got a duty. And if we're a nation of faith as well, I think you also get called to
And
that
it's not
too. So
just that health care aspect, it's long-term care. Was with my nephew last night and his girlfriend, she's in those long-term care facilities. That's a whole 'nother topic,
oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, outside of the
That
health
that
insurance.
crush you if you have a family member in long term care. You're
You
done. You're
you
done.
you don't understand it until you go through
Yeah,
it,
I
a
don't.
lot of
I've not
times.
been through it, but I know people that have, and it
It's
is destruction. If you have
I've
no life.
I've had one family that was prepared for their, long-term care needs, and I had one that was not. And when you're not prepared, you have to become a ward of the state, liquidate assets, get on I mean, it's just and it can be devastating to a family, not just financially, but morally and psychologically, just a lot
It,
it's a
it
whole
it
'nother.
it ends families.
Oh, yeah.
It destroys families. That's absolutely right.
We're talking about, the political climate on this. One thing that I wanted to talk about, Greg, is just it seems like political silence, and we were kind of dancing around it right now in this recent conversation that we're having, or this, this topic. It just seems like, you know, I I'll give you an example. I went to Washington D.C. a couple years ago. Went to Capitol Hill. Met with the legislatures. Out of everybody we met in their offices, whether it be Tony Gonzalez, Joaquin Castro, Henry Cuellar, Chip Roy. Chip Roy was the only one that really said, "Hey, yeah, we got a problem here on healthcare." I think he's kind of checked out because he's looking at
Yeah.
a state position here, and I'm like, man, that was really the only guy locally where where we're located that was really trying to sound the alarm on saying, "Hey, we need to be proactive on some changes here." And again, we just talked Iran, we got Venezuela, you got China, you got all this other stuff and all this other noise out there. But just I wish they would. I really wish they would not be as silent as they're being on this very important issue. And I think we're going to see it in November, like what you're saying.
Yeah, I think the way the cycle of news works is that the next day could be literally any topic.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it does. There's nothing holding us down, and that's not politically. I mean, you can go look at it. It's
I mean,
crime.
look at
It's
yesterday, Greg. They
wildfires.
were
It's
talking about UFOs, and
yeah, UFOs,
that
and
just hit.
it
Like,
just
okay, we're gonna let you know a little bit here.
Epstein. I mean, there's everything is a daily battle or war, which then doesn't allow you to be a long-term advocate for policy changes that can make a difference in people's lives because you end up fighting things door to door or hour to hour. And by the way, we're all in trouble because oh, oops, we elected human beings in city council
Mhm.
or our governor or our federal level, and they make mistakes. So then we get bogged down in the mistakes these people make because they should be absolute saints
Yeah.
and sinners, right? No sinners, only saints in elected offices. Give me a break. People always make mistakes. We're always bogged down in fights and personal battles, and stuff doesn't get done. So the silence can be deafening. And the perfect example is the war we went through, the government shutdown. And today you wouldn't even think about that
Yeah.
because we got hung up on Liam Ramos. It got, that ICE was protecting him up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then he's down here at the Dilley Detention Center. So, that became the topic of the day. And the little boy in the little blue knit cap
Yeah.
became the poster child for immigration. And here come the rallied Democrats and
Oh, I
their
saw
groups.
the news footage of that.
Uh, uh, it,
Banging the tambourines and their signs.
so people get motivated to vote on these issues. So I think the silence is good for Democrats in the sense that they're drowning out everything with their social justice issues, and Republicans made some mistakes. I mean, we can't say they didn't, and I think overplaying some of these hands. And the thing is that it's so bad in DC, but it if you look at San Antonio, it's here now too.
Yeah.
This did not used to be like this in San Antonio over the last 25 years. It's just over the last 5 years, it's turned into this exact same thing now at City Hall, very minor level. We're talking about bus fares, right? We're talking about groceries. We're talking about, they call them food deserts. We're talking about shrinking streets to get people out of cars. So the conversations have come into San Antonio, but it's a national discussion. We just always seem to evade it because we were nonpartisan, but those days are gone. So we can't have much control over things locally. But actually, let me take that back. When you get elected to city council, you do have the control over helping people's lives, and protecting them, streets, sidewalks, other stuff. But some of our taxable tools as well, and our debt tools Anywhere you can save a resident a dollar on their bank accounts, a dollar anywhere. So to say that you can't, as City Hall, well, we don't deal with anything with healthcare. We don't have anything to do with that. We don't make
Yeah.
abortion decisions. We're not doing these things. However, our ability to reduce costs allows a citizen to make that choice to go out and obtain health insurance, right? Or a dollar fee on a CPS Energy bill. I was talking to somebody the other day where SAWS is coming out, San Antonio water system, with a rate increase over the next 5 years. It's going to be 35%. So your bill over the next 5 years will increase 35%, your water bill.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, it's
I'm
monstrous.
sure it was in an email to me that I just
It's monstrous. It's going to be a huge rate increase. They did this 7 years ago for Vista Ridge, the water treatment center, whatever the thing was called. I don't remember the exact name. But Vista Ridge, basically, we're piping in hundreds of millions
yeah.
of gallons of water. So we raised taxes for that. We raised the rates for that. We're coming around to raise it again. And people are not it's not receiving a very positive response from the city council. So that's how we save people money, right? And then you'll hear the CEO, Robert Puente of SAWS, right? Or their financial people come in. CPS Energy does this a lot too. Well, it's only $2 a month. Okay. Well, it's only $2 a week. Okay. Well, $2 a week is, let's say it's $10 extra a month, right? Say my bill goes up $10. All right. That doesn't seem like a lot. Never mind. It's this compounding effect of all these rate
Correct.
increases. Forget that. But some people, $10 is the difference between a deductible, right? Fuel to get to work that week.
Yeah.
I wish I had that car because that $10 wouldn't get me around San Antonio in my pickup truck any day of the week. But $10 is a difference maker for some families, actually a lot of San Antonio families,
I agree.
from a week's worth of something. So we
That
can't,
could be a couple $1,000 a year collectively if all of your stuff starts to increase like that.
and they're going to keep coming at you, man. They keep adding these fees. We're talking about raising the property tax rate at City Hall. Because
Really?
there's not enough money. There's a $175 million budget shortfall. There's talk about raising the property tax rate. Be the first time in 25 years it's happened. This is where we're at. That's the stark difference between political parties. And the Democrat side of it feels that when there's a gap, we need to fill it. We need to pay it. And it doesn't, and then over here on the Republican side, it's, hey, man, instead of giving them the fish, give them a fishing pole and teach them how to fish. Right. Like, so
Well,
there's a definitive breakdown, and now it's at San Antonio, and now we're going to see. Right. But we find $2 billion for Project Marvel. Right. And we can give the
yeah.
Spurs a new arena. We found $500 million.
They can make, and I'm glad you're bringing this up because I know our current legislatures can fix the expanded subsidies like that. They
in
can
an
put
instant.
the Biden administration, and I was really critical of the Trump administration when COVID hit because they could have opened a special enrollment for people that were getting sick and get into insurance, and they didn't. Not until Biden came in and their administration, they said, "Hey, we understand people are struggling here, need health insurance in place. We'll make some changes, and here's what we're going to do." So I guess that's where I get frustrated, Greg, is I know they can make a very quick
Oh man,
fix on this.
you would think we were broke at San Antonio City Hall. You think we were broke? Like we can't. We're $175 million in the hole. We can't fund libraries. Grandma's not getting her via bus service because we're wasting money over here. This is terrible. The world is breaking down. The federal government's costing us all this money. Oh, the Spurs need $500 million for a $2 billion arena. Okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all the council members line up like a bunch of sycophants, right? They're sitting at the front of the line with their hands raised up. Yay, go Spurs, go. I love the Spurs. I trust them. Here's $500 million to an organization that is owned by a $265 billion hedge fund out of Austin.
Yeah.
So it is mind-boggling.
I did check it last week, Greg, and maybe you can chime in on this because we're going to wrap up the show here in just a few minutes.
Oh, we're already out of time?
Yeah, we're at 50 minutes in right now.
Oh my gosh, man!
So we're before because I don't know when I'll have you here again. A couple weeks ago, we got a county judge race.
Oh, yeah.
Going at it with and supposedly Nirenberg and Sakai were. Sakai was finally saying, "Hey, gloves are off here," and they went toe to toe. Was that the case on that or not?
Yeah, so we had a big election, right? Ron Nirenberg served 8 years. He did beat me that race in 2019, tough race. And he's trying to run for county judge. And Peter Sakai is a 40-year plus elected official in Bexar County. He's been judge for 4 years. There's a stark contrast here. I would expect Ron to probably win that race. Whoever wins that race is going to end up being the Bexar County
Really?
judge. Yeah, the Republican doesn't stand a chance. But I mean, and I love Patrick Von Dolan. I think we're just not enough of us.
Yeah.
And the tide is turning right now against Republicans in Bexar
I
County
just
again.
thought Sakai was doing a good enough job to where he could stick that landing.
No, I don't think so. The thing about Democrats, respectfully, I don't think they vote for the right person for the job. I just think they vote for I think Ron just has a name ID. He fits most of their political face time, what he looks like. And you can't say, and I like respect to Ron, he did beat me. There's not a lot of legacy of massive success at City Hall. So I think should be Bexar County judge? Well, I don't, probably not. I mean, what has he really done? But we said this earlier before we started the show. A lot of people just don't run for office that would be great judges, exceptional leaders. They don't run because of the pay. They don't run because of the drama. They don't want their family exposed. You name it.
You can make stuff up about them.
You can make it up. I mean, and that's actually how politics is. In the absence of truth, they make up lies about people. But it's sad because what we have is we're fishing from a pool of smaller qualified people to hold office because the people that are super qualified don't want to do it. And I don't blame them in the least bit. I've been in the game 25 years. It's the worst I've ever seen it. And it's affecting policy across the board.
Yeah.
And we're going to censure the mayor probably on Monday for her behavior and treating a colleague. This is not stuff we should be worrying about. We should be worrying about, okay, how are we going to save enough money with SAWS so that people can buy their groceries or they can pay for their health insurance?
It's just local solutions like what you're talking about, just in that political realm. And this is what I wanted to close out on the show with while we wrap this up. We got some great local hospital systems here in town.
Yes,
nonprofit
absolutely.
charities, preventative initiatives, employee wellness efforts, broker advocacy like us trying to, really get with these companies, some of the large employers to be proactive with this. After the show, I really want to assess this and hopefully I can help make this happen here locally as well. I think we can rally the community. Yeah, we've got a health insurance crisis with the Affordable Care Act and all this other stuff. But let's try to figure out some local solutions with these community hospitals and everything. I mean, I think we could.
We've got everything from WellMed to, to Concentra. We've got CommuniCare, Center for Healthcare Services.
All of this.
There's a lot of people, for-profit and nonprofit.
Yeah.
San Antonio did have and still does. It's just not advertised as much as it used to be. Our biomedical facilities. We used to be a medical hub. It was something. We had the medical center. We were sprouting up all these healthcare facilities. We really took a leading edge on the healthcare kind of industry, and for some reason, it just kind of went to the wayside.
You see some beautiful hospitals.
It kind of fell apart. We do have a wonderful, I got to say, healthcare system considering what's going on in the country. But you're right, and the nonprofit aspect of it is huge too. But that all comes back to, just to wrap up. What do we got? We're around 52 minutes.
We're 4 minutes.
So just to wrap the whole thing up, when politicians, and even whether it's a Ron Nirenberg or a Peter Sakai or it's a Nelson Wolf or Henry Cisneros or even Greg Brockhouse, who just served for a short period of time down there, you got to do, people who run, you got to give them credit and respect. It takes nerve, it takes concern and care to say I want to be an elected official. Yes, not everybody's down there for that reason, but overall you got to put yourself out there because you want to make a decision. You want to lead the city. So let's hope and pray that people figure that out. That there are things we can do that are outside of these national talking points. I've always tell this to people nowadays, everywhere I go. DC politics aren't the answer for San Antonio issues.
I agree.
So how do we work together to find some of these answers? These nonprofits, the CommuniCares and all these other folks, how can we turn around in the healthcare space and make sure people have health insurance? I'd encourage everybody out there to call my friend Justin Holland. I've called him, I use him, and he's given me the answers when I had no other choice. I had no other answer. Like I didn't know what I was going to do. And that got insurance coverage for my family. I had to go without it for a month or two sometimes because of the filing periods and how things worked out.
You've got
very dangerous enrollment periods. You got to be
deadlines.
careful how you plan it. But Justin and his team absolutely brought me and my family under coverage every time I've come back and forth to it. So I want to thank you for that. Encourage everybody to give you a call because you shouldn't have to live in fear of the next cold or the next family emergency breaking your bank.
Greg, I really appreciate you joining us. I know it was last minute today. You know what? With all the political stuff, I just got back into town. I see all these mailers coming in. It's been a pleasure helping you out personally. Hopefully we can have you back. At some point I'd like to bring back like that. You know how Jack Riccardi has that gang of four kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
I'd love to see that come back, and I want to see if I'm going to talk to the station before I leave and see if we can get something rolling off of that. But as always, we want to thank you for joining us, listening to the show either online or over the radio right now. And if you need any help with your personal health insurance or insurance needs, Texas State Insurance Services is here to help you. Basically, the Matt Insurance Show, Making a Difference in Insurance, is here to help you look at everything insurance. Texas State Insurance Services for your individual health insurance needs, 210-880-5316, or Palmetto Life Group to help out with that life insurance, long-term care insurance, Social Security analysis, and your auto, home, and commercial insurance needs as well. That number is 877-357-5316. And we'd love to help you out. We've got Lydia in the office that can take your call, schedule an appointment, and more than likely, you're going to be visiting with me directly on everything that we can do to help either yourself personally, your family members, loved ones, or your valued employees with the business that you're running as well. Greg, I can't thank you again. I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for helping us kind of take a look at the political side of this industry locally and how it affects us nationally. And hopefully, we'll have you back again as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.